Hi, everyone. I'm Nina. I lead the CRM team at Babbel. And this is the first time I'm presenting on a stage and speaking into this thing. So if I suck, then you've been warned, at least. And it's actually really cool because my presentation starts exactly where the panel left off. We've been talking a lot about aha moment, finding your aha moment, how important it is to drive long-term engagement through concrete user actions. CRM between marketing and product, and also CRM becoming much more relevant to growth overall. So that's great. That was already my intro, basically. Babbel, in case you don't know, it's the world's #1 selling language learning app. We're sitting here in Berlin and New York, and we're a subscription business, which means that engagement is even more important for us because we want our users to extend their subscription. So basically what it looks like, of course, you acquire users, you convert them, then you engage and retain them, and then they will extend their subscription. They will upsell, maybe to upgrade to higher priced, higher value products, higher value plans, tell their friends and family about Babbel. Of course, engagement also helps with App Store ranking, etc. So bottom line, engagement is important also for marketing. In short, you could think about it, you acquire, you make money, you engage, you make more money. And you can measure this with a set of very elaborate metrics and KPIs, impressions, visits, installs, leads, various costs of acquisition measures, sales revenue, various types of revenue margins, basket size, etc. Engagement, you have often something, daily, weekly, monthly active users, something else. Everyone you ask tells you something different, something with retention, some North Star metric. It tends to be a little ill-defined. And then you, thank God, you're back in the area where you feel comfortable with because those are metrics that you know. So bottom line is, in my experience, I'm not ashamed to say that at Babbel, the level of sophistication that you approach measuring impact and analyzing performance is directly proportional to the amount of money that goes in and out of this thing, while engagement is always a little bit somewhere in the void. Because also, as we heard, sometimes it doesn't, or very often it doesn't sit in marketing. So they have, product teams tend to have a very different way of approaching optimization. And in our case, we have also a North Star metric. Our North Star metric at Babbel is called learner minutes. It is a combination of monthly active users and time spent learning in the app, something like that. It's calculated a little bit more complicated than that, but that's what it is. And now our challenge is to get this new user who's like very excited because they found a super cool new app to this North Star metric. And the answer, how to get them there, is much too often magic. Because it's very far away, right? It's the North Star metric. It's designed to be far away, and there's a lot of noise. So one way to get there is to investigate into finding your app's moment. And that's what we've already heard about in the panel before. It's a pretty familiar concept, I think. It has been also put forward by Reforge, for example. And at Babbel, we ventured out to find 3 moments, actually. A setup moment, which is the minimum actions required to get to our app's core value, defined within the first 2 to 3 days after starting with the app. The aha moment, which is the user has experienced the core value of your app within the first week. And the habit moment, which is when a user has formed a habit around your app's core value by experiencing it n times within the first month since sign up. Now, how to find it? This is not the main topic of the presentation. I'm not a data scientist, so I invite you to Google it and research on your own time how to exactly do it. But in a nutshell, on one slide, hope that's big enough, You want to, as I said, for the setup moment, you want to find a set of actions, an action or a set of actions that need to complete it X times within the first 3 days to set your user up for long-term engagement. For that, you want to define who your power users are, what kind of, which actions do you want the users to take, what behaviors displayed by your power users, what do you want them to do, and then you look at basically, you look at all your power users, the cluster of power users who show the ideal behavior that you have identified, and you look at what do they do within the first 3 days, and then you look at everybody else who's not a power user, and you look at what did they not do within the first 3 days. And how to get there is basically, ideally, it depends on how complex your app is and how many different actions and sets of actions you can do. Maybe it makes sense to start with a hypothesis set. You will basically guess actions, so you have a bit more defined problem space. And then you run a correlation analysis. And then we also did some predictive modeling with that. And at the end of the day, we came up with a setup moment, which in our case is doing 2 reviews in the first 72 hours. So our app mainly, the core of our app is lessons and reviews. We also have some other, we have podcasts, we have games, etc. But the core app is still lessons and reviews. And users don't do reviews by themselves usually. So that gave us, knowing this, gave us the opportunity to move from gradual habit building to more direct response. So how we set up our onboarding flow, and not like the registration flow in the app, but onboarding flow with messaging. We did it in a very, I think it's a very standard way. You go around the company, ask everyone and their grandmother, what should be in our onboarding flow? What do you think we need to tell our users about in the first week or 2 weeks? And you will get a set of answers, and you build your flow. And then you have maybe an email with a certain topic, number 1, the push notification with topic number 2, and topic number 3, and so on and so forth. And at the end of it all, you look at your North Star metric and see what happened. And that works as long as the result is good. If the result is not good, then you have no idea what went wrong, where, and why. So we, because there's a lot of noise in it. So we moved to, instead of looking at one big goal that we wanted to hit, we looked at little micro goals in between, which were exactly these moments, the setup moment, aha moment. So we targeted all our messaging in the first few days on goal number 1, then we move on to goal number 2, etc. And that actually gave us much better results at the end of the day. And I'm going to now show you what exactly we did. We asked the question, what if it was a sale? Like CRM at Babbel actually sits in marketing. That's historically what we've been doing. We've only fairly recently ventured out into working on engagement and with our product team as well. So we have a lot of expertise and experience in this area. And then we looked at our onboarding flow, which was basically the top one here. And we were asking, what if we really wanted them to reach this goal? What if our salaries depended on it? Would we do it like that? No, we would never do it like that. If you know anything about doing like sales driving CRM, you wouldn't do it like that. So we looked at all the different principles that we know on how to make money. And in the end, it actually led us to a 10 to 15% increase in learners reaching the setup moment. And this is not an A/B test. This was like before and after, so I know it's not super accurate. But the concrete initiatives that I'm going to show you, they were A/B tests. So it also doesn't really add up to be 15%, just in case you're wondering. So then we looked into the toolkit, and we came up with a few ideas. And they're very no-brainer, low-hanging fruit ideas, which is why it's so great that this worked so well, and I can only recommend. One is timeliness. Very easy. Our onboarding flow had the review tool on day 2 after registration, which is just a few hours before your time window for setup moment runs out. So all we did was switch the messaging. Of course, you want to tell them as soon as possible about something they should be doing in the first 3 days. And that already increased the number by 7%. Relevance and repetition. Again, in this ideal onboarding flow, you have like a different topic every day, and it's just not, it's nice in theory, but in practice, users don't do that. It doesn't work like that. Users won't do every day exactly what you tell them to do. The fewest will. Some will, but the fewest will. So repetition is really key. So what we said is like in those first 72 hours, every single call to action goes to this one thing and nowhere else, except for if you haven't done a lesson yet, because you need items to review, of course. So it's basically the step towards the setup moment is do at least one lesson, do one review, 2 reviews. So we were personalizing based on that. But otherwise, every message was basically following this plan: do a lesson, do a review, do a second review. And that also increased the number of learners reaching setup moment by 7%. Fear of missing out and urgency. Our items don't expire. Then it would be even better. But they remain, of course. But we still try to employ this. We send every evening we send a push notification to everyone who hasn't done a review yet that day, just to check in, just to nudge them. Hey, have you done a review today? And that also increased the numbers of percentage of learners reaching setup moment by above 5%. Similar to in-app messaging, even more straightforward. This is still in testing, so I don't have a result for you yet. But this is even more. This is getting to the setup moment in one go, basically. As soon as you did your first lesson, you will be immediately nudged to do your review by an in-app message, and then you're being immediately nudged to do a second review. And then, bam, you're there. You're at the second setup moment. And last but not least, copy optimization. This is something that we also do in CRM marketing, let's say, in the revenue-generating part of our team. We use a company called Persado, #unpaid advertisement. They do AI-based copy optimization, and we use them to optimize our subject lines. And the results are often quite stunning. So in this case, just using this subject line that you see here, subject line number 3, which is one pending invitation, emoji, name, let's get started, versus all the others that you see here, did not only increase the open rate of that email, that was the welcome email, the very first one on day 0, did not just increase open rate of that email by 28%, but also the whole setup moment rate of the whole flow by 3%. So basically had a long-lasting impact, which was also quite fascinating. Right, so learnings in a nutshell. I still have a few minutes, but I know that the timer didn't go off on time, so I'd still try to be fast. 3 main takeaways. Have a North Star metric, yes, but don't use it for your day-to-day optimization. It's just not designed for that. Try to find something that's a bit closer to what you're actually trying to do, that's a bit more direct response. Find your app's moments by checking what your power users are doing, what your non-power users are not doing, failing to do, by correlation analysis. And then in order to, once you've found your moment, try to get there as fast as you can and as aggressively as you can. Ask yourself, what if it was a sale? Ask your marketing colleagues if you don't work in marketing. Try it out. It works surprisingly well. Of course, it's not. Is it the prettiest way to do things? Maybe not. It's very effective. And the long-term impact is still TBD. But so far, the results are very promising. And we basically now checked off the setup moment, and we're on to the next goal, which is the aha moment. We're working on that right now. And so far, this approach has proven very promising for us. That was it. Thank you.